if you were to start a small business and you just woke up and you say, I'm going to call my small business Nike and we're going to sell sports gear, right? I wouldn't recommend you to do that, again, because you're a small business. And I think small business actually benefits from being a little bit more literal, right? Because it's less for someone to figure out what Nike means. That's not a word, and that doesn't mean that you have to be super literal and say sports gear. But if you said Nike, just do it. I, again, don't know what you're talking about. But if you say Nike sports attires or whatever it is, now you're getting clarity on what this is, right? So somebody just from looking at the identity is able to decide whether they need this or not. Okay, I'm not looking for sports gear, so I can go away. It's beneficial for small business, for your non-ideal market to go away, because the last thing you want to spend your time with is deal with a bunch of unqualified customers that are prospects that are walking into your door, and you just wasted an hour talking to them and realize they can't even afford your services or they're looking for something else, right?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the None of Your Business podcast. Just like each and every week, Sean and Lacey here with you, talking about all things entrepreneurship, especially for service providers. You have a service that you believe can change the world, but you might not embrace necessarily all of the concepts of being an entrepreneur: marketing, sales, money, your mindset around all those things. And we are very fortunate each and every week to have a super special guest join us to share with us their insights, their expertise. And this week we have an expert on branding, and we'll talk branding. But what I'm really interested in, this idea of being a visual problem solver. Like, that's pretty cool. We have with us Orsi Herbein, and she is an expert in branding, a brand strategist, and a visual problem solver. So let's bring Orshie up here with us. Orshie, thank you so much for being a part today of the None of Your Business podcast.
It's my pleasure. It's great meeting you guys.
So we always begin with this same question for all of our guests, because look, I think that in a lot of people, they might turn the podcast off right after this answer. They might just be like, all right, that's good. Because a lot of times, like, we interview people who have found success, like yourself, but that have a story, a backstory of how they got there. I know even for us, a lot of people emulate us. They emulate the coaching aspect because that's the part that people can see. And so people wake up one day and next thing you know, they're a coach, right? They're just like, hey, and I know that Tristan Schaub, who works with us, always says, yeah, but they missed all of the parts, right, that you guys did to get there, right?
Well, I love that you always say emulate not the destination, but the trajectory.
Yeah, and everybody wants to just wake up one day and they're going to listen to this podcast and they're going to say, I'm a visual problem solver. That's what they're going to do. Me. But here's the question, Orsi, how did you get here? Like, what is the trajectory? Because I noticed even at an early age, you were into design, and to some degree you were drawing. How does this all just sort of play out to where you end up as a branding expert?
Whew. That's a long story. I'm going to try to recap it for you real short. But I've always had a niche for art, just drawing. I mean, I remember being very little and drawing princesses at, the kitchen table while my mom was cooking. And right about high schoolish, maybe, I realized that I love art very, very much, but I am not a Picasso. I'm not going to make money doing just art. I like drawing. I enjoy creativity, and I enjoy solving problems. And I was really looking to get into a field that would help me stay creative. And believe it or not, at first I was thinking architecture, interior design for what I do. And when I took a couple of architecture courses, I realized that the ruler and Orshie are not friends, and it needed to be a little bit more liberal. And I got into graphic design, and I got a graphic design degree at New England School of Art and Design at Suffolk University in Boston, and the rest is history. I really started right out of school, working for an agency as a junior art director. And then after that, I was an in-house designer, and I started freelancing. And as I was gaining experience, this whole visual problem solving started to evolve, because what's the true difference is between fine art and graphic design is that you have to be functional, right? So you're constantly solving a problem, and you're trying to figure out ways to say a lot with very little. They say a picture says a thousand words, but so does design. Every element on the page has an opportunity to communicate. So my job is to take these big ideas, big concepts, and then narrow them down, boil them down into something that's beautiful, but it also serves a function. And fine art, you could fiddle with forever. I mean, you could take 2-3 years to complete a painting, and frankly, if that was me, I would be struggling because nothing would ever be done. But I actually enjoy the boxes that graphic design and this profession and branding puts around the creative. Like there's it's got to be liked by the customer, it's got to communicate, it's got to fulfill a function, it has to be beautiful, it cannot say too many things, it cannot have too many words on it. So how do we take design and really make it functional? I enjoy that tremendously, and really that's kind of how it evolved from me being a graphic designer to becoming a branding expert, because you constantly have to minimalize, right? Just take away, because I need to say a lot with as little as possible so the market can retain it.
I think that this is a great message that you're talking about, because I think so many people, when they think brand, all they think about is the component of logo. Like, what does the logo look like? And it's only the visual part. What you're talking about is there's so much more to that. It has to be an actual, what is the message that's being translated through that image that they're perceiving? What are we trying to say with the thing that we've created, right? And I think that that's so important, because it's more than just this, it looks nice. Oh, I like the colors, right? I like the font. There's actually messaging behind that. So tell us a little bit about how you would define a brand and branding.
That is a question that I love. And you hit the nail right on the head, because you said the word perceive. And to me, branding is a perception. Okay. So branding isn't your logo. It isn't your website. It isn't your messaging. It isn't your colors. It's a combination of all those things. But essentially what we're trying to do when we brand a company is design the perception that an outsider will have, right? So if you want to be appearing to somebody as a professional organization, then we're going to have a professional image, right? We can't just have a not professional image and be perceived as a professional organization. That's just a very basic example. But branding happens in the mind of the audience, right? So it's kind of like beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Right.
Brand is in the eye of your market, because as soon as you present something to them, and that's what we call marketing, you push your brand out there in various forms, like a postcard, an ad, social media, whatever have you, your website. You're presenting the brand to the market, and when they look at that as outsiders, they start formulating thoughts and feelings about what they see. And they're going to determine very quickly whether this is of value to them or not. So when we are, part of my problem solving process is to really align the value of companies and businesses' brands with what their ideal market desires and needs, right? So really this connection between value to market, and it has to happen really, really quickly. So it starts with really understanding who is your ideal customer, and how do we say what matters to them, because what they won't give you is time. They're gonna look at it, and if they can't make the connection very quickly, they're gonna go away, and then you lost them. And they could be a perfect prospect for you. You just didn't have what they value right away, because what they don't have also is time. So whenever we shop, the sooner you can connect with that audience, the sooner they're gonna be like, oh, wait a minute, I need that. Let me read on. That's all you need to be able to tell more. But how do we get there very, very quickly?
I talk about that a lot. I get a lot of heat on social media for that, talking about solving for time. Now, that's especially true in the high net worth category, people that are that their time is more important than money, right? So if you were tight on cash, of course, you would look for a discount. And if I had to read pages of sales copy in order to get 50% discount, maybe I would do that. But people that are looking for a solution and are willing to pay for that solution, what they don't have is time to be messing around, reading all kinds of copy, jumping through all of your fancy hoops. So, I mean, 100%. And we'll clip that. That's going to go up on social media. Can't wait for all my friends to say how dumb that is. But hey, that wasn't me. That was Orsi. She's the one that said it.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to put this in here. I know it doesn't necessarily fit the flow of our interview questions of where we're going, but I have to ask this because I think it impacts the rest of the interview, is what is exactly a visual problem solver? Because I'm intrigued by this. Like I'm like, man, I need a visual problem solver. Yeah. What is a visual problem solver, and what do you fix?
What are problems you see? Yeah.
Oh, well, it's really a communication problem, right? So when for example, let's just talk about creating an identity for a company. And there's a difference between small business and entrepreneurs and startups than giant organizations like Nike and Coca-Cola. And I'll tell you what the difference, and that's a tremendous amount of budget that we don't have in order to saturate the market and put ourselves out there so that even from the tap, Coca-Cola is running because Coca-Cola, right? So they have two things that they do. They are impeccably consistent with their brand at all times. Whenever they using the brand, they have that consistency. So you're not going to see a green Coca-Cola bottle. It's just because their colors, their fonts, their feeling that they project is always the same. But they also have an incredible large amount of money that they can actually put themselves out frequently, right? So that frequency allows retention. Small businesses don't have necessarily that frequency in terms of budget, but you can have the consistency. So it's very important for your logo colors to resonate and blend in with your website, the truck that you're driving, the business cards that you're handing out. Everything has to be impeccably consistent. But you're asking me about problem solving, so let's just talk about logos. And the reason I say that with this example is because let's just say the word Nike. If you were to start a small business and you just woke up and you say, I'm going to call my small business Nike and we're going to sell sports gear, right? I wouldn't recommend you to do that, again, because you're a small business. And I think small business actually benefits from being a little bit more literal, right? Because it's less for someone to figure out what Nike means. That's not a word, and that doesn't mean that you have to be super literal and say sports gear. But if you said Nike, just do it, I, again, don't know what you're talking about. But if you say Nike, sports attires or whatever it is, now you're getting clarity on what this is, right? So somebody just from looking at the identity is able to decide whether they need this or not. Okay, I'm not looking for sports gear, so I can go away. It's beneficial for small business, for your non-ideal market to go away, because the last thing you want to spend your time with is deal with a bunch of unqualified customers that are prospects that are walking into your door, and you just wasted an hour talking to them and realize they can't even afford your services or they're looking for something else, right? So talking about identity, if you have a small business, look at your name. Your name should be short and memorable. Okay, so we often see companies like, for example, I'm just dealing with a company called Architectural Materials Incorporated. That means nothing to nobody. And you know what? They actually a commercial door company. So you wouldn't know that. But just rebranding them right now to AMI, which is originated from the original name, AMI, Complete Door Solutions. Now, in that very little, you said a lot, right? You said a lot, because if I'm not in the business for commercial doors, I can go away. But, I might be writing, we didn't complete the rebrand yet. I might be writing by Architectural Materials Inc. and wonder, if I should stop by because I'm remodeling my house and I want to look at architectural materials. You know what I mean? Like it's, and they may be getting a whole bunch of unqualified leads based on that name alone, right? So how can we say a lot with very little? Just with the identity, fixing that identity is going to help them bring in that ideal customer, which is a general contractor at a commercial, giant construction company who needs 100 doors, right? That's their ideal customer. So now AMI, Complete Door Solutions, tagline, engineered efficiency. All
Let
of
me
a
get
sudden,
let me get your take on this real quick, because that's an interesting take. So on the visual and then on the brand, most of our viewers, most of our listeners are going to be in a service business.
Right.
So that means like oftentimes it's them. They're the dentist, they are the accountant, they are the designer. What do you think about naming it Orshie's Design? Is that helpful? Any thoughts on throwing my own name into the brand?
it can be helpful, and you see plenty of examples out there that are personal brands that are Oprah, right? And you just see that happening. Here's the question I would ask myself if I were to do that. How far do you want to go? Do you want to write books? You want to be an author? Do you want to be an expert? Yes, you can do it. I mean, Dave Ramsey is a perfect example. He's not doing everything under Ramsey Company, but that's his name. Is it possible? Of course. Is it going to take a while? Yes, because you have to establish your authority. Also, maybe early on you might know that I'm actually not trying to just be a consultant, and I actually want to grow this business into something like a company, like a small business down the road. Having your name in the brand actually could be a drawback, because you might create unconsciously an owner dependency. I mean, even now with me and my business partner, his name is Matt and I'm Orshi. When we started Brand 3, a lot of people were asking for Orshi, asking for Matt. We want the experts inside the company. My job right now, because I want to grow Brand 3 and not my personal name, is to transfer the values I bring into the brand, right? So it's a question that someone should ask, like, okay, is this about me and my expertise, or do I have a future goal of growing a large organization without necessarily wanting to become an author and all that stuff? And I want, my employees to be able to carry the value that I have to my customers. Then maybe a name that's not related to your personal name is actually a better choice.
I love that concept. And we often ask people, like, what is the end goal with your business? Like, what's the end game? Because maybe you don't want to even scale it to this massively large company or have multiple facilities, but maybe the goal is to eventually build it and then sell it. And oftentimes it's really difficult to sell a company that's centered around your personal brand. That doesn't translate very well. So I think that that's a really important point that you're making. You should always be thinking, what does my business look like 5-10 years from now? Because that's going to impact how I create my brand and the message that I'm translating, right? I think so often people think about what's the message I'm getting across today, when we have to look at the longevity of the company. Because like you said, if you can't beat them with frequency, you have to beat them with consistency. And I really like that concept. I think that's super important.
Well, I always wonder, like, I mean, hey, some of these people we know, like, but I always wonder, like, what's going to happen with Jay Abraham, right? And Tony Robbins. So just a big, like, so when Tony Robbins isn't there, who's gonna,
shoes?
what happens there, right? And so you have to be really careful in doing that. Oprah Winfrey, great example, because
Right.
probably, if day to day Oprah's not there, it continues on. But I mean, what's Date with Destiny or UPW without Tony? Like,
But
is
that's
some other guy
why
there?
that's why the personal brand, she's expanded out, right? She
Right.
has her TV network.
Right.
So somebody could take that over because it's not all about her, but
Absolutely.
they could never take over her show, right?
Absolutely.
So important. I want to go back to the idea of consistency though, and because I think this is really important for our listeners. When you talk about consistency in a brand, again, we were talking about the logos and the logo and the visual component and the colors. Where else does somebody that's listening need to think about maintaining and having that consistency? Where are some other places?
You mean besides the logo and the colors?
Yeah, besides the logo and the colors, like where else should that show up and translate so people are seeing that and there's consistency throughout the entire brand?
Right. So what we tell our customers in general that, branding leads pretty much everything inside your business, right?
Mm.
So branding will affect, marketing. It will affect sales. It will affect recruiting, your culture, your hiring, all that, right? So that brand consistency is not just important for the outside, but also for the inside. So, for example, if you're a business with 10 employees, and I ask each of your employees the same question, I should get the same answer, right? So really, there is a necessary thing about for branding to saturate outwards and internally, so that consistency is coming through, and it's important that your materials are consistent and they are saying the same thing, and you are saying the same thing. Your emails, your social media, you're kind of writing on what you're all about. What we actually try to do to help our customers understand is we create something called a brand promise. And it's something that's in really the most valued thing that a prospect, an ideal prospect of yours could have. And that brand promise just needs to be front and center inside you building the culture, your employees representing your company, your materials, your website, and also the experience that you deliver, right? That brand experience when your customer now walked in the door and became a customer, you are fulfilling that promise. And every opportunity is a touch point for you to wow that customer and essentially lower your marketing budget because of that consistency. If you said, hey, I'm going to promise you this, and you deliver this, plus, wow the customer, every chance they get, they're going to recommend you. So, essentially you are going to have an advocate base from your customers, and you're able to utilize that consistent experience and those touch points to market less, because those guys will do the marketing for you by saying, oh, you know what, or she's great, go to her.
The brand promise is great. I remember when we were rebranding our franchise, the specific chiropractic centers. Sean and I are actually chiropractors by profession. I was doing a lot of research on a lot of big brands, and I did come across this idea of that brand promise like woven into so many companies. And I realized that was kind of the epicenter of the culture that they were trying to create, the message that they were trying to get across. So that's something we worked really hard on. Our brand promise in the specific chiropractic centers is bringing the health and care back to healthcare. And so everything we do, like you said, from the moment somebody walks in our doors is about making them feel that, because then they go and tell that story. So do you have any good examples that you love of brand promises that could get people thinking about their own brand?
Okay, so let's go back to AMI,
Yeah.
Architectural Materials Inc. We just kind of finished the strategic alignment of the brand. Now we're getting into, putting visuals on there. But, as I told you, they went from Architectural Materials Inc. to AMI, Complete Door Solutions. And the tagline we are fiddling with right now is engineered efficiency. The reason we are bringing in engineering, because when we dug into that ideal customer, when you say the word engineering, it's actually, it elevates a perception, right? It just creates a more professional feeling than something like a vendor or contractor or project manager, like and what I learned doing the work with AMI is it takes a lot to engineer and design an opening that functions properly. And then when you have hundreds of it on a large construction project, it is really something that you want to do well and put through a trusted process, right? So engineered efficiency is the tagline, but the I apologize, I don't know if you guys can hear my cats, but they're killing each other over there.
We
But
did. I saw her show up, little cameo every once in a while in the picture.
Sorry.
Just fine.
She's cute. No, we've got a
Just
little
fine.
Yorkie that shows up all the time. He likes to be
yeah,
on video.
I saw him earlier.
Yeah.
So the brand promise we came up for AMI was, we engineer the risk out of door solutions so that you can, to help you stay on time and on budget, right? So imagine this general contractor, doors are just a little bit of his problems, right? They have so many things to deal with, so many vendors to contract. Doors is just a tiny bit of their problem. But we engineer the risks out of door openings or door solutions so that you can, so we help you your project stay on time and on budget. And a general contractor, that's all they care about. They want this project to go smoothly. They have a million things to deal with. And, if they can get a reliable partner with the just the door parts of it, that allows them to at least worry less about that, right? So, that's our promise. And, AMI is now able to take that and build it into their culture. You know what? Joe, you want to work for AMI? Great. Well, guess what? We are all about engineering the risk out of door solutions. So we help our customers stay on time and on budget, their project to stay on time and on budget. Is this, this is the buy-in. This is, as an employee at AMI, this is what you have to deliver. Whether you are a front desk person or an accountant or whatever, this is what we're all about. And again, just imagine that perception of engineering in there, right? So, now all of a sudden we are not just the door guys, we really take doors seriously, like there's that kind of a feeling just from the word engineering. So again, how can I say a lot with a very, very little? That's a simple phrase. It's retainable. Your employees can retain it. Your market can retain it. Your customers can retain it. And a general contractor who's the ideal customer reads that and say, I want that.
I get it. Mm-hmm.
And that's what I want.
Yep.
I love this. I love that you brought up earlier too, this idea of what do you want from your company, and then that somewhat driving the brand. Or she also talking about making sure that we're clear not only on what we want but who we serve, right?
Mm-hmm.
Orsi, any thoughts on how having, first of all, there's a lot of people that don't even have a brand. I mean, I guess they do by default because the brand is whatever they're putting out there,
logo, but maybe
it's going all over the board, and it's just. Talk to me about the value that having a brand can bring to my business. If my plan was at some point to exit or turn this over so I wasn't handcuffed to my business, what kind of value can a strong, solid brand bring to my company?
Oh, thank you so much for that question. And I would love to give you a great answer, but here's what I'm telling you as a branding professional. I so wish that brand equity would show up on your P&L report.
Right.
I really wish that could happen. Essentially, and that's a customer. That's kind of a gap that I have in selling to my customers, because I'm selling branding, and a lot of times branding is just misunderstood to begin with. They don't think that they need it. In fact, when I finally drank my own Kool-Aid and ran from brand 3, brands that deliver, to brand 3, the right way to market, that alone made a huge difference, because you know what my customers value and need? Marketing. Okay. But the right way to market is to really create a brand that will allow you to engage that audience, right? So I'm still doing branding, but now I opened the marketing door for them. Oh, you want marketing? Well, come on in. Let me see. Oh my God, they need branding like crazy. but I'm not saying the B word because it's a return. It's, they're like, oh, I don't need that. That's for the Nikes and the Coca-Colas, or, all that. But that's really what it is. And over time we have seen that we have customers who come in, they want marketing, we fix the brand, and we go out with the same marketing tactics that they had before, and now they're getting traction, now they're engaging the customers. They haven't even increased their marketing budget, but the brand is doing its job, bringing in the right customers, and they are seeing and experiencing growth. So we had a pool company who was called Woodfield Landscaping. Okay, they had a leaf and it said Woodfield Landscaping, but they build these amazingly gorgeous outdoor living spaces, outdoor kitchens, gorgeous pools, concrete pools, like just incredible, like fireplaces, gazebos, like whatever have you, outdoor kitchens, right? They came in the door wanting to put in a full color ad in Baltimore Magazine, and my business partner Matt said, I'm not doing it because you're going to waste your money. Your brand right now does not project what you have inside. And the owner was like, I need to go after these elite customers. I need to go after the nice big houses in that neighborhood, to build their backyard paradise, right? And we needed to fix that perception, from a leaf landscape company to
you think landscaping, you think trees and
Right.
bushes and
So
rocks.
we renamed them from Woodfield Landscaping to Woodfield Outdoor Living.
Oh.
And or Woodfield Outdoors, Woodfield Outdoors. And the tagline was exceptional outdoor living. Okay, so right away, and the leaf, we kept the leaf, but we changed blue, gray, and green, so it represents pool, masonry, and landscaping all at once. And then we couple that with a high level photo shoot, capture these beautiful pools, and now you're starting to see, like, now if I'm an elite customer, we had to explain the owner, like, listen, these customers have the Rolls Royce, the Porsche, the Prada, the Gucci. These are the brands your customers interact with. You can't come around as Woodfield Landscaping with this, like, relief and expect that they're gonna hire you for $100,000 backyard makeover. So we needed to fix that perception. So that's just an example. And the value is that they ran from a $2 million company to a $10 million company in 3 years with literally no increase to their marketing budget. They're still spending the same amount of money they spent before, but now there's traction. And they deliver an experience, and now the customers like leaving reviews and blah, blah, blah. So it's what it is. It's brand marketing, customer experience all at once, really delivering a promise, making a promise, delivering a promise, and engaging the customer you need, and not the one around the corner who, wants a pool, but the most they could afford maybe is like a above ground something. You know what I mean? So that's not your ideal customer. You don't want those guys to walk in the door. So, just fixing the brand allowed that to be fixed immediately.
Yep.
Orsi, how does somebody get in touch with you if they want information about the services that you provide, working with Brand 3? What's the best way for someone to contact you?
Brand3.net is our website, and the schedule a call button actually goes straight to my calendar. So anybody can contact me there. And then you can also find me on LinkedIn, and you can get in touch there.
Brand3.net, brand, and then the number 3. Don't write it out. Brand3.net. That's how you can contact Orsi. Link to her calendar, book a call, talk to her, find out if you're a good fit, find out the great things that they are doing for other businesses, and if they can service your business as well. That was fantastic. Anything else to add?
Oh, I love it.
Orsi, thank you so much for joining us this week on the None of Your Business podcast. You've been an absolute gem, and I hope that people realize the importance of branding. What is the point of going out there and marketing and spending all of these marketing dollars if the brand, one, isn't developed, isn't consistent or doesn't communicate the message that you're attempting to communicate.
Right.
You got to get your brand straight. Then we can go out and market that to the world. And then don't forget, she mentioned, and then you have the servicing side, right? Because we speak to service providers. Then the service has to be consistent with the branding
brand.
and the marketing that you put out there. You can't market like you're Rolls Royce and then you come in and it's all plastic chairs and it
Right.
doesn't look right. Man, Orshie, thank you so much for being a part of the program today. We learned a lot. I hope that all of our viewers and listeners will not only learn, but we always say this each and every week. You have to apply. You have
Take
to
action.
take action. Otherwise, this was just cool information. Think about what you need to be changing with your brand to be more consistent. Think about what you need to be changing to be more frequent as well. Once you have the brand figured out, that's going to help you go a long ways. All right, folks, that's all we have this week for the None of Your Business podcast. But don't fret. We're going to be back next week with a brand new edition of the None of Your Business podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in.